Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now, I want everyone to visualize exactly what I'm going to narrate. And please remember, I was just speaking to Maria that the topic that I'm talking about is extremely difficult to, put across and the messages, because unfortunately in Pakistan it has become very controversial as well at the same time. So I've tried to keep my balance there. So starting again, I want you to visualize exactly what I'm going to narrate. It is the 7th century, and a girl is born in Banu Asad tribe, and she's raised by her parents, but the main influence in her life is her elder brother, who trains her as a warrior. Now you can imagine 7th century and a woman being trained as a warrior. During fierce battles, she would equip herself with armor and the finest of blades. She used to wear a green shawl on top of her armor, and she would mount the strongest war horse, and she would charge towards the enemy. During this battle, she would fight amongst the bravest of men, and she pushes the army back. She fought many battles alongside her brother, Dirar, who trained her as a warrior. But the Battle of Yarmouk holds great significance, because during this battle, on the 4th day, she leads a group of warrior women and she defeats the army and the chief commander. Now, in those times, women were not considered battle-worthy. But Khawla bint al-Azwar, that's her name, becomes the greatest and the most fierce Muslim women warrior the world has ever known. And Khawla bint al-Azwar is a prime example of a woman who breaks all the taboos. And she leads by empowering herself and hundreds of Muslim women around her. And now that's what I call women empowerment. Fearless, fighter, leader. And that's how all women should be. So on one side, we see these great examples of women. But then on the other side, I know so many women who have struggled all their lives. Unfortunately, many of them even had to work as a commercial sex worker just to put food on their table for their children, or work at low wages, very low wages, and even worse, being forced to beg on the streets. I can tell you many heartbreaking stories. I see them every day, first-hand examples, breaks my heart, drains me emotionally at times. And unfortunately, our environment is as such that raises vulnerable women without education, skills, and more so, no confidence in themselves to fight the challenges of life. A great percentage of women in Pakistan remain in abusive relationships simply because our society does not accept them as a divorced woman. Their parents will not accept them. They refuse to support them. And without education and skills, they have very little chance of making a decent and respectable living. And now that's wrong, because our women need to be strong and they need to raise strong people. But how that's going to happen? For that, we need to change our mindset. And that starts from the day she's born. And I say, just give her the right to think for herself. That's all. That's all we need to do. But we can do great things. I'm going to tell you a real story. This is real story. Great things like Shameem did. Does anybody know who Shameem is? No? Okay. So Shameem is wife of Faraz. Okay. He was our old driver. And Faraz is your usual guy from the village. When he gets married, he has this big village wedding. And he's so full of himself, so much pride. And now even more pride because he's got this very obedient, petite wife. And as per tradition, the next day he's supposed to take her to her village, which is a neighboring village. So on the way to the village, they're walking. And Shameem is walking many feet behind Faraz, like an obedient wife. And there are people passing by and congratulating him, and he's feeling even more happier, I have a wife and she's obedient. What more one can ask for? But then all of a sudden he froze because he sees a black king cobra on the road. And all that pride slithers away and he screams. But then he's shocked because what he sees, his very obedient, petite, quiet wife walks past him very casually, and she distracts the snake with left hand and picks him up with the tail, and she smashes him on the rocks until he dies. And then she very casually looks back at him and she says, the snake is dead. And then she walks back behind him, many feet behind him, in her place. And Faraz, all shocked, starts walking to her village. And now Shameem and Faraz have 4 grown-up children. And they may have had some small arguments, but they've never really had a fight. And that's what I call women empowerment. Killing a snake in front of your husband. Yeah, so he doesn't messes around with you. But jokes aside, have you ever thought, why do we hear the word women empowerment all the time? And I hear a lot of people around me complain, what about men? Women are being too empowered. We're going to corrupt the society. But no, I'm not going to sit here and share a lot of statistics and figures. I know hundreds of them. Very sad, very, very sad statistics about women in Pakistan. I don't want to paint a horrible picture of Pakistan. I strongly believe that we need to change that perception globally. Pakistan has so much potential which is hardly recognized, promoted and highlighted. But I can tell you from my experience that if you are a woman, educated or not educated, working or not working, rich or poor, married or unmarried, the society just simply doesn't see the women as human beings, just simply as equal human beings. And that's what we need to change. And we need to empower our women so they can contribute equally in the growth of our beautiful land. Unfortunately, the mindset is such that if a woman is in an abusive relationship and she seeks for divorce, she'll be blamed for it. You couldn't manage, you've destroyed your marriage, you're destroying the future of your children. If she's working and she's excelling in her career, her character will be questioned. What do we do to help our women, to change the status of women in Pakistan? And I believe it all starts from changing our mindset. Now, I've had a fair share of challenges in my life, and I still have them. And self-praise is no recommendation, but given the opportunity, I'm going to talk about myself. Why not? Women are blamed for not talking about themselves, so I thought I might do that as well. I come from a broken family. And I've seen extreme domestic abuse as a child. And hats off to my mother, who took me and my siblings out of that situation, and she rebuilt herself. And I can't even start to imagine what she's gone through in her life. The images of her being beaten up still flashes through my eyes all the time. But she didn't give up, because she's a woman of character and strength, and my role model. Sorry. So she not only built a very successful business, but then she went on to help thousands of women across Pakistan become financially independent. And I've always tried to follow her footpath. When I was 15, when she got divorced, I had to go into a boarding. I was in a boarding for about 8 years, because obviously she needed her time to build herself, her business, and provide for us, for her children, because she didn't have any financial support or her family supporting her. And then when I was 15, I moved home. I started to work with her while I was studying, so I could gain experience. And that experience taught me so much, going into villages and seeing firsthand how they helped change the lives of these women, how they made them economically independent, and how that helped them, which is amazing. I always found that very inspiring. And then when I was 16, I moved to England, and I had my first job in a pound shop in London to sustain myself. And these are all experiences of your life, they build you up one way or another. And then 2 years later, I set up my first social enterprise to help Muslim women in England learn skills in education and get decent jobs. Because you wouldn't believe that even in a place like England, you can sit in Pakistan and think it's a Western country and people would be very empowered, women would be very empowered. But Muslim women coming from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Africa, they were in the same situation like they are in our countries. I found that very shocking. So I set up my first social enterprise. I started up from one little room. I loaned a small computer, one computer, so I could just help somebody, one of the women, learn these digital skills. And it started off from there. And just in the first year of my startup, I helped 3,000 women. And my first year turnover was £800,000, which was a remarkable achievement for me, for an 18-year-old, so much money, and you're making an impact. And during this time, I got married. I had 2 children, but then it didn't work out. And I took it as a will of Allah and moved on as a single parent. And I continued building my own social enterprise. Then that went on to help thousands of women, men, young people in England. And I received a lot of appreciation and a lot of recognition through media and awards. As the youngest and first Pakistani female to develop programs which were unique and innovative, and that helped change the lives of not only men but women particularly, because that was probably the hardest thing to do at the time in England. Now things have changed there. And then in 2013, I took a leap of faith and I decided to relocate to Pakistan. My friends in England still call me crazy. Like, who leaves England and go back to Pakistan? And you're a young woman and you're a single mother. But with my 2 children, my 2 beautiful children, I came back to Pakistan because my only aim and the only thing I wanted to do was to help our girls and women of my country, empower them so they can achieve their dreams. And that's when my journey with Pakistan Alliance for Girls Education started. PAGE is working aggressively to provide access to education for girls who would otherwise never go to school. Because I strongly believe that education is a tool that can empower our girls. When they grow up, they will not be in that situation which other girls are facing right now. And page through page, we've gone on to develop many innovative programs across the country. And we're doing a lot of work, and we're trying to work with the government constantly so we can change that policy, we can change that vision, we can make sure that our women and girls are included in everything that is being done. And I hope that through Page, we can equip them with the skills so they can be leaders of tomorrow. Now, towards my end, I want to say that with my first bitter experience of marriage, I found somebody who stands behind myself and supports everything I do. And now we have 2 children, and our family is complete. My elder ones are with me, my daughter's right there. And I think the most important thing is, and I say this to every single time I get an opportunity to speak to young people in a university, especially young girls in the university, that you are the very lucky handful of girls who've made it here. Because believe me or not, millions of girls, millions, and I'm not exaggerating, they do not get this opportunity. So make the most of it. Don't stop here. Don't give up on your dreams. And keep moving on in your life. You've got to find ways. And it's not going to be easy. Our society is not supportive. But women here and young men here, you are the future of Pakistan. And you are going to make the future society of Pakistan. So please change that. Because when you do so, when we empower our women, Pakistan will grow. Pakistan will change. Look at all these economic crises and social crises we have. It will not change until women are equally empowered. Women can equally contribute to the growth of our country. And the most important thing that we need to remember, that we need to keep helping each other. Because by helping each other or by helping others, we're also helping ourselves. You never go wrong by helping others. It comes back to you. My own journey continues. And, there are always difficult situations. But Alhamdulillah, my faith in Allah has given me a very positive outlook in life. And that strength to empower myself and others around me. Thank you very much.